What was meant to be a night of comedic brilliance turned into an unforgettable disaster when Jack Black appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote his latest project. From the moment he walked out, things felt slightly off. Jack, known for his high energy and offbeat humor, was unusually tense, though he cracked a few jokes that got the crowd laughing. Jimmy began by bringing up Jack's new movie, but then veered into joking about his past roles, comparing him mockingly to a cartoon character who never grew up. Jack laughed politely at first, but his smile faded as Jimmy kept pressing. "You're basically just doing School of Rock over and over again, right?" Jimmy quipped. Jack raised an eyebrow. "Or maybe you're just doing the same interview every night, Jimmy," he shot back. The audience laughed, thinking it was part of the bit, but the mood shifted. Black wasn't smiling anymore. The tension was no longer subtle. It was palpable. As Jimmy tried to steer the conversation back to safer territory, Jack leaned forward and spoke with deliberate calmness. "You know, I thought this was going to be fun. I didn't realize I was signing up to get roasted by a guy who's been doing the same jokes since 2005. The audience gave an uncomfortable chuckle. Jimmy laughed nervously and said, "Relax, Jack, it's just late-night comedy." But Jack wasn't in a joking mood anymore. "There's comedy and then there's condescension," he said. "You invite guests on your show and then use them as punchlines." Jimmy waved it off, trying to maintain his cool, but his tone turned sharper. "You're being dramatic, man. Everyone gets teased here. It's part of the fun." Jack replied, "Maybe I'm just tired of being everyone's clown." That silenced the room. Kimmel blinked, visibly irritated, and said, "Well, if you don't want to be funny, why come to a comedy show?" That was the spark that lit the fire. The air turned electric as Jack straightened up and looked directly at Jimmy. "I came here to talk about something I put my heart into," he said, "not to be a joke in your monologue." Jimmy's smirk faltered. "Then talk," he said flatly. Jack took a breath, trying to keep it together. "I've spent decades building a career on more than just wild facial expressions, but all you seem to care about is cheap laughs." The audience was, dead silent. The crew backstage started signaling frantically, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let it play out. Jimmy crossed his arms and said, "You know what, man? Maybe you should go yell about this on YouTube like every other disgruntled celeb." Jack shook his head. "Nah, I think I'll say it right here where it matters." The crowd started murmuring, unsure whether this was a breakdown or a publicity stunt, but nothing about Jack's body language suggested this was a rehearsed performance. Jack stood up briefly, pacing the stage as he ranted about Hollywood's hypocrisy, how artists are chewed up for content and discarded when the laughs run out. Jimmy sat with his arms folded, visibly annoyed but trying to appear unfazed. "You knew what this show was," he said. Jack shot back, "Yeah, I knew it was supposed to be funny, but I didn't know it was a trap." One of the producers whispered to a stagehand to get ready in case things escalated. The audience looked from one man to the other, like it was a tennis match of egos. Jimmy tried to end the segment by announcing a break, but Jack shouted over him, "Don't cut away. This is the only real thing that's been said on this show all night." A few audience members clapped awkwardly, unsure whether to support or cringe. Security began moving toward the edge of the stage, just in case. Jimmy stood now too, his expression unreadable. The exchange didn't cool down. Instead, it got hotter. Jack accused Jimmy of exploiting his guests for internet clips and clickbait, calling it the new Hollywood circus. Jimmy's response was sharp. "If this is a circus, you're the clown screaming in the center ring." That line was met with gasps. Jack walked back to his seat but didn't sit. "You think this is about me? This is about every artist who's had to laugh off an insult just to get airtime." Jimmy sighed, clearly fed up, and said, "Then maybe this show isn't for you." Jack looked at him and replied, "You're damn right it's not." The producer finally cut to commercial without Jimmy's cue. When the cameras turned off, the two exchanged more words that were muted to the live audience but visible in their angry gestures. Within minutes, security was politely escorting Jack off the premises, though he left without resistance. The audience sat in stunned silence. The internet exploded within moments of the incident. Clips of the fiery exchange began circulating even before the episode finished airing. Hashtags like Jack vs. Jimmy, Your Blackout on Kimmel, and Jack Unleashed began trending across platforms. Fans were divided. Some applauded Jack Black for standing up to what they saw as late-night toxicity. Others mocked him for taking things too seriously and ruining the vibe. Celebrity commentators jumped in, some defending Jack, others calling the outburst unprofessional. Meanwhile, producers at ABC scrambled to control the narrative. A press release followed hours later, stating, "Tonight's show featured a disagreement between host and guest that was unplanned and regrettable. We thank our viewers for their understanding." Jack Black's camp released no statement while the silence only fueled speculation. Was it genuine anger? A performance art piece, a pre-release stunt? Nobody knew for sure. But the buzz was undeniable, and it wasn't going away anytime soon. In the days that followed, other comedians and actors weighed in. Some said they'd felt similarly disrespected on talk shows but didn't have the nerve to say anything. Others joked that Jack went full Tenacious D on national television. Late-night rivals poked fun at Jimmy, with one host quipping, "Guess Jack wasn't in the mood to be Kung Fu Panda tonight." Meanwhile, Jack Black appeared briefly on a podcast, where he didn't directly address the incident, but did say, "Sometimes you gotta flip the table to get people to listen." That cryptic comment was enough to send fans into another round of speculation. Jimmy, for his part, returned to air 2 nights later and made a short joke about it. "We had a musical guest this week. His name was Jack Black, and he performed a solo in yelling." The audience laughed, but it was clear Kimmel was still miffed. The tension between the two wasn't going anywhere. As the dust settled, a deeper conversation began to emerge online. People started discussing the role of late-night hosts in the modern era. Are they comedic commentators or pop culture bullies? Is it fair for celebrities to expect complete reverence on platforms built around sarcasm and satire? Many fans praised Jack for disrupting what they called a fake, overly sanitized comedy format. Others insisted he could have handled it better or walked out silently. Media think pieces appeared daily, debating whether the confrontation was a breakdown, a breakthrough, or just good old-fashioned drama. The ratings for Jimmy Kimmel Live skyrocketed that week, driven almost entirely by curiosity. Behind the scenes, however, sources whispered that future guests were quietly asking for approval over questions and topics before agreeing to appear. Trust was shaken. And Jack Black? He disappeared from the spotlight for a bit, reportedly turning down several interviews while he let things cool off. 2 weeks later, Jack Black re-emerged in a YouTube video on his own channel, looking relaxed but serious. "I've got nothing against Jimmy," he said, "but I do have something against being reduced to a caricature on a platform that's supposed to celebrate people." The video went viral instantly. He didn't rant or shout. Instead, he calmly spoke about the pressure entertainers face to always be on, and how sometimes enough is enough. Fans flooded the comments with support, calling it refreshing, honest, and long overdue. Even some former guests of Kimmel's admitted they could relate. The media shifted gears, now praising Jack's vulnerability instead of mocking his outburst. Meanwhile, rumors spread that producers had reached out for a private reconciliation, but neither side confirmed it. What was clear, though, was that the incident had triggered a cultural ripple. It was no longer just about one argument. It was about how we treat entertainers in the public eye. Months passed, and while new controversies took center stage, the Jack Black-Jimmy Kimmel clash remained one of the most talked about moments of the year. It was replayed in year-end recaps, featured in documentaries about celebrity media, and referenced in comedy specials as "that one time things got way too real." Jack returned to promoting his film eventually, choosing quieter, more controlled outlets. Jimmy kept his usual pace but was noticeably more cautious in interviews. Though neither publicly reconciled, fans often joked that a surprise joint appearance would break the internet. Whether or not that day ever comes, the impact was lasting. It exposed the fragility of scripted comedy when met with unscripted humanity. It reminded audiences that behind every joke is a person with limits. And most of all, it showed that even in a world of rehearsed laughs, there's still room for raw, unpredictable moments. And when they happen, the world can't look away.